Former Coronation Street star Beverly Collard has addressed a potential return to the cobbles after the soap revealed an explosive secret about her character Liz McDonald's husband Jim. Collard, who is now part of the lineup of I'm a Celebrity, South Africa, last starred as Liz in Corrie in 2020. The ITV soap has kicked off a storyline about Jim, who died of pneumonia off-screen earlier this year and was revealed to have had an affair with Maggie Driscoll, resulting in the birth of New Rover's owner, Ben Driscoll. After the secrets have come to light, Collard was quizzed about a possible comeback as Liz. While she has joined the cast of Irish soap Fair City, the star has said, "Never say never," about a return. "I can't now because I'm filming something else, but I think you should never say never," she said, via Daily Star. "I loved my time there. You don't stay in something for 32 years if you didn't love it, but I think the workload and the way it's filmed, certainly when you're in a big storyline, you're there all day, every day, so I don't think I'd want that again to that extent." Reiterating her love of Coronation Street, Collard said, "I think they have great writers on the show and great actors, but I just felt the stories were not there for Liz anymore, but I'd never say never. I loved my time there. You don't stay in something for 32 years if you didn't love it, but I think the workload and the way it's filmed, certainly when you're in a big storyline, you're there all day, every day, so I don't think I'd want that again to that extent." Reiterating her love of Coronation Street, Collard said, "I think they have great writers on the show and great actors, but I just felt the stories were not there for Liz anymore, but I'd never say never." The star also praised her on-screen partner, Charles Lawson, who played Jim on Corrie. "Charlie is one of the best male actors I have ever worked with. What you see is what you get," she said, adding the soap was crazy for killing his character off. "He doesn't suffer fools, he's brutally honest, but he's wonderful, and I think they're crazy for killing Jim McDonald off," she added. The rain fell in a steady hush over Weatherfield, as if the sky itself understood that something had shifted forever. Outside the Rovers' return, the familiar hum of laughter and clinking glasses was replaced with murmurs, soft, uncertain, heavy with the weight of what had just happened. Coronation Street had seen its fair share of heartbreak, but nothing quite like this. Jim McDonald was gone. And for Liz, the world didn't just stop, it cracked. Liz sat alone in the dim corner of the pub, her fingers wrapped around a glass she hadn't touched. The bold, fiery woman Weatherfield had always known seemed quieter now, like a storm that had burned itself out and left only silence behind. Jim's death hadn't been peaceful. It hadn't been expected. It had come like a thunderclap, sudden, brutal, and leaving behind questions no one could yet answer. "Typical Jim," she muttered under her breath, a ghost of a smile flickering. "Always making an exit." But her voice trembled. Across the room, familiar faces watched her carefully. They all knew Liz as the woman who could hold her own against anyone, who could laugh in the face of chaos and come out stronger. But this was different. Because Jim wasn't just a memory. He was history. As the news rippled through the cobbles, old wounds began to reopen. Jim and Liz had never been simple. Their love had been fierce, messy, and unforgettable, filled with passion, betrayal, reunions, and heartbreaks that had shaped both their lives. And now, with Jim gone for good, Liz was left with something she'd never truly faced before. Closure. Or the lack of it. Later that evening, Liz stepped outside, the cold air biting at her skin. The streetlights cast long shadows across the cobbles, and for a moment, she swore she could hear his voice, booming, familiar, impossible. "Liz." She turned instinctively. Nothing. Just the wind. Her chest tightened. "Don't you dare," she whispered, as if Jim could still hear her. "Don't you dare leave me like this." Because that was the truth of it. Jim hadn't just died, he'd left things unfinished. Words unspoken. Apologies never made. Love never fully resolved. And now, Liz had to carry that weight alone. But in the days that followed, something unexpected began to stir. Strength. Not the loud, defiant kind she was known for, but something quieter. Something deeper. At the Rovers, she started showing up again. At first, just for a few minutes. Then longer. She polished glasses. She listened to conversations. She even laughed once or twice, though it caught in her throat like it didn't quite belong. People noticed. "She's still standing," someone whispered. Of course she was. This was Liz McDonald. Yet behind closed doors, the cracks still showed. One evening, she opened an old drawer and found a photograph. Her and Jim, younger, arms wrapped around each other, eyes full of fire and possibility. She stared at it for a long time. "You were impossible," she said softly. "But you were mine." Tears came then. Quiet, unrestrained. Not the dramatic kind, just a slow, steady release of everything she'd been holding back. Because grief wasn't loud. It lingered. But grief also changed her. And that's where the future begins. In a recent tease from a Coronation Street insider, hints have emerged that Liz's journey is far from over. In fact, Jim's death may be the very thing that reshapes her path entirely. Will she leave Weatherfield, unable to escape the memories? Or will she stay, and rebuild herself from the ashes of a love that defined her? There are whispers of new beginnings. Of unexpected friendships. Even the possibility of romance, though the idea feels distant, almost impossible, in the shadow of Jim's absence. But if there's one thing Liz has always proven, it's this. She survives. Back on the street, life continues. It always does. The cobbles don't stop for anyone, not even for legends. Yet something about Weatherfield feels different now. Quieter. Softer. Like it's holding its breath. Because everyone is watching Liz. Waiting to see what she'll do next. On a crisp morning, she stands outside the Rovers once more, keys in hand. The sun breaks through the clouds, casting a warm glow over the street. She takes a deep breath. For a moment, she hesitates. Then, she unlocks the door. Inside, the pub is empty. Still. Waiting. Liz steps in, closing the door behind her. "Right," she says, her voice steadier than it's been in days. "Let's get on with it." And just like that, something shifts. Not an ending. A beginning. Because Jim McDonald may be gone. But Liz McDonald. She's still here. And her story is far from over. I think it's a shame that opportunity will no longer exist. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Crown ST.